Alright, we are live. Sorry for the wait, everybody. It's been a little while since I've posted a video. I've just been really busy lately. I'm back, and I hope to make this a more normalized thing of doing this once every week for y'all, because I really feel like this information is very important and needs to get out. This video is going to be about the drill holes and lost technologies of the ancient world. Hello, wonderful people. In my last video, I talked about the evidence suggesting an advanced civilization dating over 50,000 years ago. If you haven't seen it, in it I presented megalithic craftsmanship that dwarfs our most dedicated engineering feats. With this video, I'll discuss the presence of tube drills and drill holes. These are physical enigmas that have been meticulously studied, scanned, and measured, demonstrating just how incredible they are. Astonishingly, there is still pushback. I think it's safe to say, with all the examples of advanced engineering, it's obvious that this is a highly sophisticated culture that had the ability to cut, transport, polish, and stack huge stones, with an average weight of 50 tons and many being over 100 tons, with some even weighing over 1,000 tons. It's really compelling evidence, so if you're interested in hard data followed by thoughtful and educated speculation, then please release your burdens and open your mind. I am merely a conduit of truth, trying to penetrate the backwards and oppressive mainstream narrative. I truly believe that once you understand you're descendants of a once highly advanced global civilization that was thriving for over 100,000 years, a civilization that had the ability to connect to the earth and the universe in a profound and forgotten way. This knowledge will ignite the essence of love and light in your being, in turn, illuminate the dark with the light of truth that will change the world. Well, let's begin. These structures signify the remnants of a civilization that rivaled ours technologically in scale. Many societies built structures and monuments dedicated to the gods. In our early 6,000-year period, the usage of limestone and marble was prevalent. As time went on, we started using brick and wood. Presently, steel and other hard metals are used. With the slow churning of time, they'll surely turn to dust by 10,000 years, probably less than 5,000 years. We build with an easily manipulated material that is cheap and efficient. We do not take the constant beating of the great universal beast, time. Into mind. Interestingly, that is not the case when observing megaliths that have been forgotten to time. Not destroyed, but forgotten. Even if we wanted to build structures imitating those of the ancients, it would be incredibly difficult and in most cases outright impossible. We have powerful saws and drills made of manufactured diamonds, which allow us to tear through granite and other hard stones with relative ease, but not to the degree observed at sacred sites. As I'll discuss in this video, stay tuned. Also, please like and subscribe, and comment if you will. It really helps my channel out and pretty much helps my heart out to keep going. As I was saying, we have powerful diamond-tipped tools that allow us to work in a precise manner on the hardest of stones. Interestingly, there are clear power tool marks all over the world scattered amongst the rubble of a lost culture. For example, these drill holes from Peru to Egypt. Unbelievable, right? How is this possible, and not in the forefront of people's minds? Mainstream archaeologists will say this is the work of tools from the Bronze Age, taking years to make, but once you look into the actual evidence, you'll see this is far from the truth. One caveat to the orthodox is this: we see clear reset marks from a circular saw. If this is the work of hand tools, surely they would have realized they were off the line before resetting. This evidence further supports these people had advanced power tools theory, but I digress. Let's first observe the stone that is being used: granite, dorite, basalt, and corundum. To effectively work and precisely manipulate these stones, there are very few options that will work: beryl, topaz, chrysoberyl, corundum, sapphire, and diamond. Flinders Petrie, the renowned British Egyptologist and a pioneer of systemic methodology in archaeology, stated in his book, The Pyramids and Temples at Giza, the character of work would certainly seem to point to diamond as being the cutting jewel, and only its consideration of its rarity and absence from Egypt interfere with the conclusion, and render the touch uncrystallized corundum the more likely material. Basically what he's saying is, There aren't that many diamonds located in Egypt, so they most likely used corundum to cut into the stone. Little microscopic crystals in sand that over time would chip away at whatever material with the aid of constant abrasion. These power tool features are located across the world, all sharing a similar groove striation. Are we to believe these civilizations reaching the corners of the world all technologically evolved to the same level of sophistication, only to disappear, leaving their monuments as a whispered tale of their existence? I think a more likely explanation is these are the remnants of an advanced civilization from deep antiquity. I challenge the orthodox explanation with this. How do you explain the angled groove striations? This is not an attribute from man-powered methods, but rather a clear indication of power tools. Thunder's Petrie also observed and wrote, "The grooves are as deep in the quartz as in the adjacent felspar, and even rather deeper. If it were in any way produced by loose powder, they would be shallower in the harder substance, quartz, whereas a fixed jewel point would be compelled to plow to the same depth in all of the components." In other words, the mainstream explanation being sand, a copper tool, and constant rubbing would remove material with tiny bits of hard crystals. If this is the case, once you hit the quartz and other hard substances, it would not cut as deep in that portion of the stone. Rather, it would skim over it with a lighter degree of penetration. Remember, granite is a conglomerate of many different minerals with varying degrees of hardness. This begs the question, how are they cutting into the stone at these rates? The renowned engineer Christopher Dunn, with his years of experience in manufacturing and aerospace, also investigated these drill holes. He concluded these tubes have a feed rate of 0.1 inch per 5 revolutions of the drill. This rate is 500 times faster than our modern diamond drills, which can penetrate only 0.002 inches per revolution. He also wrote in his book, Lost Technologies of Ancient Egypt, "The correct way to describe the feed rate would be to say it was 500 times greater than our modern diamond drills. But the rotation of the drill would not have been as fast as the modern drill's 900 revolutions per minute." He initially speculated the usage of an ultrasonic type drill, but in further analysis he suggested the usage of a heated method. Just think about that. You heat the drill you're using, changing the molecular structure of the rock to easily drill through it. This is speculation on a physical, yet to be explained piece of evidence. Now I know you may be thinking, what is the mainstream's explanation for this? There have been many skeptics that have challenged the assessments of Petrie and Dunn, and out of all the attempts, experiments, and recreations, each one has been unsuccessful at producing the same level of work, which I might add is needed in the scientific method. But to no avail, their assessments have been pushed forward in the zeitgeist as the truth. One instance of this being Mark Lanner's PBS special, tasked to replicate the Egyptian stone cutting of granite. Working for a few days in the hot sun using bronze tools, they cut only a few inches, without replicating the same striation pattern. Also, when making the tube drill, they clearly started the hole using a power tool, immediately stepping out of the realm of scientific analysis, and to pop the tube out, they used steel, which was not used by the ancient civilizations, whereas bronze would have simply become deformed under the pressure. Moreover, there was no comparison of their work to the granite artifacts, just a quick applause and that was the end. Case closed, mystery solved. Sorry Lanner, but that's not gonna cut it. Okay, a quick thought. If the Bronze Age method of cutting hard stone took 3 days for a few inches, how do you achieve the Great Pyramid of Giza? They used the hardest stones and traveled hundreds of miles with over 1 million blocks just to construct the Great Pyramid. Well, if you ask me, the location makes sense, directly in the center of the earth. If you could, you would, I guess. But then why the hardest stone? Unless they were using them for their inherent energetic properties. They really want us to believe the pyramids were built over 3 generations of pharaohs. Interestingly, no mummies have been found in the pyramids, and there is no writing all over the walls as seen in known tombs, only a few inscriptions of a pharaoh's name. Digging into the pyramids a little more, you'll find there is an absurd amount of mathematical concepts and sacred geometry encompassing the Giza pyramids. These megalithic structures are clearly a representation of the Northern Hemisphere, along with many other sophisticated mathematical abstractions, only further supporting the theory that these were built at the same time. I'll go deeper into this in a later video, but here are a few examples. Interesting, right? Back to the drolls. A major part of the debate being, are these grooves horizontal or helical? Well, what we find from the Lehner experiment, we see horizontal groove marks, caused by the pressure and grinding on granite. Whereas the tube drill in the Petrie's museum, we see helical striations, meaning a spiraled groove left by the cutting technique. Would you believe me if I told you they tried to skirt around this by claiming the tube drill was mislabeled and incorrectly observed by Petrie? Well, believe it. The two responsible for this claim are John Reed and Harry Brownlee. These two liars. Excuse the strong language, I can't help but feel anger towards anyone that intentionally obfuscates the truth to fit their narrative. But many people believe this was an honest mistake on their part. Christopher Dunn said in an interview with Ben from Uncharted X, not lining the top axis is a common mistake made in the field of measuring. But for him having years of experience in the aerospace field, he knew better and always goes over his initial analysis. But yes, Reed, an acoustic engineer, and Brownlee, a stonemason, towed the orthodox dogma of tube drills, carelessly throwing the in-depth analysis of Petrie's under the bus. They took detailed photographs of the tube drill number 7 and with conviction claim these grooves are horizontal. If it wasn't for people like Christopher Dunn, that would be the prevailing truth. Even though Reed and Brownlee did not provide any measurements supporting their assertion that Petrie's observations were incorrect, only that they had examined the core in a minute detail, whereas Petrie produced extensive data supporting the presence of a spiraled groove. Luckily, Dunn, being a fan of Flinders Petrie, could not accept the fact that he would make such a mistake in his examination. So he flies to London, getting boots on the ground, and what does he find? Well, first off, from the photographs taken by Lear and Brownlee, Dunn realized they had tilted the photo so that the grooves are not spiral. I'll say that again. Lear and Brownlee tilted the photos to support the horizontal grooves theory. This is outrageous behavior from two so-called researchers who proverbially kick dirt and mud in the face of the scientific method, and yet their conclusion is accepted and promoted. So the exemplary Christopher Dunn takes it a step further, taking more in-depth measurements using tools unavailable to Petrie in the late 1800s. Also, Dunn traced the grooves with cotton thread for a physical representation. This was a concerted effort accompanied by Mr. McClure and Mr. Annies, who are both well qualified for this endeavor. Even after their attempts, skeptics were not receptive to the new undeniable evidence. The bloated corpse that is the orthodox timeline could not change its ways to accept the truth. Amazingly, that did not stop Dunn's pursuit. He took it a step further. He had detailed latex moldings of the core made, with which he used geometry, the basis of all things in the universe, to find the true orientation of the grooves. He rolled the mold out kind of like a tortilla and geometrically demonstrated the helical arced groove present on the drill core. This process is effective and popularly used by engineers and is not easily dismissed. Their findings are concrete and reproducible, as should be the case when looking for the truth. The pushback to the truth is something seen in many different areas of our civilization, ranging from UFOs to the more recent thing that cannot be named without getting censored. But the more I learn about these megalithic sites and their advanced building techniques, the more I become aware that we are living in a world that is actively trying to change and control our past. As the adage goes, he who controls the past controls the future. He who controls the present controls the past. It's common knowledge that during the reign of Constantine, he decided to make the Christian ideology the basis of his warring civilization. Instead of many gods and many different ideas, he wanted you to have only one that controls you with fear. If you're not good, you're going to hell. He systematically destroyed ancient old world religions, pagan, Hermeticism, and other religions that were heavily based on the connection to the earth and the pursuit of oneness with the universe. Through the Crusades and the killing of tens of millions and torturing many as a lesson, hundreds of thousands of people were crucified and impaled for the good of the big bearded Sky Daddy. Interestingly, many attributes of these deemed inferior theologies we find remnants of their traditions in Christianity. Christmas, Easter, the cross, the crown of thorns, and even encoded references to astrology and numerology in the Bible. Unfortunately, the Library of Alexandria was set ablaze, along with most of our ancient past, forgotten, becoming merely a myth. This is the basis of our world now, one nation under God. I have no problem with people having their own religion, and I fully believe it is a good moral compass for those that need it. But to deny our true history and lie about where we come from is the worst of sins. Imagine a world where the youth is taught that its part in humanity is a piece of a timeline spanning over 100,000 years into deep antiquity. What if we were taught about the true nature of these energetic structures, how they utilize the Earth's energy field, or how sacred geometry is woven intimately through all aspects of the universe, physically and spiritually? The spiritual liberation you get from diving into the knowledge, learning the esoteric nature of ancient cuneiform tablets that the Bible is mostly based off of. You will begin to realize that you are an eternal soul that is part of a lost, sophisticated culture that traveled the stars. Okay, that may be a little hard for some people to digest. I'll say this. In the oldest cuneiform text, 30,000 years ago and maybe even older, it states just that. And this is not coming from the famed Zachariah Sitchin, but from Dr. Maurice Dorel, who in the early 20th century decoded cuneiform and translated it into English. I'll definitely be doing a video on this in the future. It is very, very interesting. It's so very clear our history is much more interesting and profound than the orthodox human beings being hunter-gatherers for 6,000 years and then we're in space. Now that might be the case for this span of time after the Great Deluge, but there is definitive proof, both physical and written, that a huge cataclysm hit our planet around 12,000 years ago, the same time Plato wrote Atlantis was destroyed. An event took place that rocked the globe and sent humanity into caves. This was life for a few thousand years, destroying all the megafauna. The mainstream narrative being we hunted millions of giant animals to extinction as tribemen, leaving massive graveyards of broken-boned mammoths and other fauna. Yeah, right. Life got extremely hard though for the remaining humans. Once this period ended, we started to rebuild, and that's the period we are in now. But we have developed completely backwards and disconnected from the earth, and I think getting this truth out will help humanity come back around to the true nature of our existence, one in love and enlightenment. This is the great time of confusion written about by many and found in different religious texts. We are in the Kali Yuga, but luckily, we are moving out and people will begin to see. Or from the Bible, Mark 14:13, on the first day of the feast of unleavened bread, when the Passover lamb was to be sacrificed, Jesus' disciples asked him, "Where do you want us to prepare for you to eat the Passover?" So he sent 2 of his disciples and told them, "Go into the city, and a man carrying a jug of water will meet you. Follow him." The man carrying water is symbolic for Aquarius, which in astrology is the time of the awakening. And from Mark 16:15, he said to them, "Go into all the world and preach the gospel to all creation. Whoever believes and is baptized will be saved, but whoever does not believe will be condemned. And these signs will accompany those who believe. In my name they will drive out demons. They will speak in new tongues," meaning they will have a new way of conveying information, one that is not rooted in hate but in love and compassion. They will pick up snakes with their hands, snakes being an ancient depiction of knowledge that has been twisted to mean something else. The snake gave Eve knowledge from her eating the apple. And when they drink deadly poison, it will not hurt them at all. They will place their hands on sick people and they will get well. The Bible is pretty fire and brimstone, but the message is there. The world is beginning to wake up, beginning to hear and see the truth around them. And with this awakening, we begin to see the forces fighting to maintain the oppressive ways of the old. I don't think this will last much longer. Personally, I think a huge intervention of the extraterrestrial type will come in the future, really shaking things up. As a personal thought though, that doesn't really hold much weight for me, but I do wonder, and somewhat hope, my proverbial shekel being tossed into the wishing well of thought. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing. Leave a comment and tell me what you think, and tell me what you thought about it. This is a ton of information, which is only the tip of the iceberg. Being new to this, I found I get spurts of inspiration to get the message out, like a higher power calling and guiding me. I know I'm a small piece in this global change, but that's okay. The bigger picture is worth it. I'm tired of sitting on the sidelines, and I hope you feel the same way. Thank you so much for sticking to the end. Sorry for the unsolicited Bible verse. I think anytime I'm able to quote it is an opportunity I should take. I don't agree with the religion as a whole, but I'm well aware of the deep esoteric and metaphysical literature encoded in its pages, being mostly comprised of the far older cuneiform tablets of Thoth. I just want to give a shout out to Uncharted X for starting my curiosity and sending me down this amazing rabbit hole of truth. If it wasn't for his work, I most likely would have remained unaware. And that's exactly what I'm hoping with these videos. I hope that someday in the future, somebody will watch these videos and it will spark an inkling of curiosity for them, and they will go into this and start to learn. Because I really do believe that people need to understand that we are a civilization right now with amnesia, as Graham Hancock once said. It's the perfect description for this, you know? We have all these evidence of megalithic structures and advanced civilizations spanning all across the world, using stones and building techniques that we can't replicate today. And in it are encoded very esoteric and meaningful sacred geometry attributes, which, I mean, it's like one of those things where geometry is basically the language of the universe. Like if we were to talk to aliens, we would use a mathematical concept to talk to them, because 2 + 2 is 4 no matter where you are. And sacred geometry is the same no matter where you are. Everything is built within the same encoding, right? Like our bodies are encoded like the Vitruvian man. We're proportioned in a certain way, and that's for everybody. So are animals, so are birds, so are trees. Every single thing is proportioned utilizing this Fibonacci golden ratio and sacred geometry context of building, which is kind of like the great designer, you know, and that's God truly. And I believe that in that is the essence of love. There's a energy that is intertwined into that, like the great duality is what created the world. We had one, and then we had two, and then two made 3, 4, and so on and so on and so on. And this is what our universe is comprised of. And I think that inside of that concept, there is an entity or an energy or a space or a realm that is omnipotent. It's neither good nor bad, but it is there. And one of the best ways to connect to it is through love and compassion. And I fully believe that you can connect to it through other means of, you know, bad and malice, you know. That's kind of like what I think about the current state of civilization. You know how people are all afraid of like the Illuminati or the satanic agenda, how there's like 666 everywhere and all these other things, which is actually a number that has some pretty profound ramifications, and it's been twisted into the Bible as meaning something else when it's actually very, very profound. And I'll probably do a video on numerology and stuff like that, but I do believe that if enough people kind of get into this mindset, it will create a reality around that will influence everything that is done. And that's why I think the truth is so hard to get out, because it's the complete opposite of that. It's written in stone, literally, and these things can help change the world for the positive, but the people in charge don't want that. They want that money, you know? So it's so horrible. But once again, thank you so much for sticking to the end, and I can't wait to show you the next video. Much love. Peace out.